Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch. All great video game consoles for your home living room, but which one's the best? I believe it's your PC. Here's why. Are you ready? Let's go. This is Excelsior Tech. I want to talk to you today about video game consoles. Video game consoles are specifically designed piece of hardware. They reside in your living room and they're made for just playing video games. They can have other functions, but their primary function is video games. Now, I think your PC, the one you have right now, can actually serve that purpose best, and specifically the home theater PC. So what is a home theater PC? Home theater PC is a PC that's treated a lot more like another type of appliance that's in your living room, another like a console, video game console. Except it can do even more. It can do all the things that PC can do, plus be a video game console. And I believe over time, you will save more money and get a better experience. Let me show you. Here are my 10 reasons why the home theater PC is your best video game console. Number 1, the PC is the premium experience for your home video gaming, at least when it comes to graphics and sound. Yes, I know, I said this wasn't a PC Master Race video, and it's not. Home consoles in the earlier days had some hardware abilities that were not in PCs generally, like hardware sprites and scaling that were in the NES. That wasn't something you commonly saw in PCs, but about the mid-90s, PCs caught up on a lot of these fronts, and then even now, the home consoles just became more and more like PCs and less more like specialized pieces of hardware. Now they still have their advantages when it comes to plug and play ability and the ease of use and the consistency when it comes to your gameplay. But if you want the very best, if you want 4K 60 in some of these higher end games, you can do it in a PC. It costs you a lot of money, but you can do it. And that is an advantage that shouldn't be discounted. Number 2, your home theater PC video game console is also a PC. It's more than a video game console. It can do everything that a PC can do. If all the computers are used up in your house and your living room one still has some, availability, you can just go in there with a keyboard and mouse. It's a little bit more clunky, but you can still browse the internet and do regular things that you do on a PC. That's not something you can do on your Xbox, and even though the PS3 had this ability for an extremely brief amount of time, that's not something you can do on any of the new consoles either, at least not very well. Number 3, controllers. Now, game consoles, PCs, especially the arcade, have always had specialized controllers. You've always had lots of options of how you wanted to play. But the PC in particular has had every kind of a controller you can think of. Some of them were pretty cool, and they worked really well for certain games that they worked well for. But having a control scheme that worked well for a lot of games, and games that were compatible for other control schemes other than your keyboard and mouse, that was not very common. But then, in the mid-2000s, especially around the Xbox 360 times, Microsoft standardized the Xbox 360 as a controller, and then Steam picked it up as their standardized controller, and now that control scheme is used by other third-party controllers. So, yeah, controllers on a PC now are awesome. Pretty much any standard controller that comes out these days has a PC compatibility. I can even pair my Wii controller to my PC and play Wii games through the Dolphin emulator. Also, there are tons of cool third-party controllers like, retro controllers that go through Bluetooth, or even if you just want something with a bog standard USB. There's lots of things to choose from, and any style that you like to play, usually your favorite game has the right control setup to work with it. And let's not forget the best control scheme for a lot of games is your keyboard and mouse. And yes, for your home theater PC, you can even pull up specialized furniture for being able to use a keyboard and mouse, but I've even just pulled up a little TV tray and used keyboard and mouse. And it might not be the best way to do it, but the fact that I can do it at all is something that you can't say for a lot of consoles. And while we're on the topic of controllers, number 4 is kind of in the same vein. VR. Yes, there are other good options for VR, like Labo for the Switch and PSVR for the PlayStation, which is actually pretty good. And the new Oculus Quest is actually kind of amazing. But the best VR is still going to be on your PC. Again, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. The most options for VR are going to be on your PC. You've got the Vive, you've got the Index, you've got Oculus. Those are just the major ones, and there's even some smaller third-party ones that are out there as well. So when it comes to the best options with the highest level of quality for VR, that's going to be on your PC. Number 5, turning your home theater PC into your Roku. I'm kind of joking about that. To be honest, most of the streaming apps are better on the streaming boxes like the Roku and the Fire Stick and the Apple TV and things like that. They tend to be better. But there's one particular streaming player that I think is the best on the PC, and that is Plex. I'll tell you why. Now, the Plex Media Player for most clients, including Roku Ultra and the Fire Stick, I've tested them all. They will not always be able to copy the video bit for bit. They have to transcode it into another format. So, for instance, Blu-ray in particular has several different formats. The major formats for Blu-ray, and I'm talking about Blu-ray 1080p, are H.264, high bitrate MPEG 2. I've only have one Blu-ray that does that, and VC1. VC1 in particular is a pain in the butt. VC1 was Microsoft's competing format for H.264, and it's a perfectly fine format, but nothing wants to transcode it very well. The best part about the Plex Media Player on your home theater PC is that it doesn't try to transcode anything. It just plays it straight. That makes it, in my opinion, the best media player when it comes to Plex. I especially find it best when it comes to streaming audio. Even my Apple TV 4K, which is the second best Plex media player, most all the video plays through there just fine, except it always transcodes my audio into lossless PCM. And I know that shouldn't make a difference, but I swear when I've done A/B comparisons, sometimes I hear a weird bass roll off, or all of a sudden something that should have a lot of bass is now gone. I don't know why, and I'm looking into it. But until I can figure out why that Plex Media Player does that, the Plex Media Player on the PC doesn't do any of that. It'll just play everything straight through. If you have the bandwidth from your Plex server to your Plex Media client on your home theater PC, it will play it through straight through without any problem. Bit perfect to your AVR. That being said, I don't know if people still try to use the Windows app Plex Media Player. Just uninstall that one, don't use it. The Plex Media Player app in the Windows Store sucks. Don't use that. Use the Plex Media Player that you can download from Plex.tv. But yeah, the best media player for Plex is on the home theater PC. Number 6, emulation. Now, emulation started on PC, but it has migrated to all the platforms in some ways, especially when it comes to backwards compatibility, and when they re-release a game from like a download store, they're usually using some sort of emulation to make it work. But still, the broadest use of emulation, and I would say the best use of emulation, and the newest, most groundbreaking use of emulation is going to be on your PC. You can find emulators for all sorts of things. I use an emulator to play all my Wii games that I bought and have transferred onto my hard drive, since emulation is a great way for older games to stay compatible with your system. So for instance, I have the original XCOM game on my Steam library, and when you download it, it's a very small set of files. It used to come on floppies, but when you download it, What's interesting, go into the program files, try this. If you've got this game or an old game of that similar vintage, go download it and then go find the files. You'll see something interesting. It's using DOSBox. Well, that just makes sense. DOSBox is an amazing emulator for DOS, and a lot of older games, and particular GOG, good old games, they actually use DOSBox quite extensively to bring back old games, which is a wonderful way for publishers who weren't making any money off of this and didn't want to spend a lot more time in it to be able to give them second life to a game that was a classic that can be now purchased again and put into a library and work just fine. And the cool thing is that compatibility is going to stay with this game for as long as DOSBox is around. Simulation is just a wonderful technology, and it needs to stay supported, and the PC is the best place for it. Number 7 is a little controversial, but it gets more to my point of why the home theater PC is your best home gaming console, even for value, and I do believe it is the price. Yes, you may have noticed as I've been talking about, the premium level that you attain with the PC comes with a premium price very often. But that's only if you want to. And very often you can get console level or better at a decent price for certain games that you want. So if you're just playing Rocket League, you can make a decently spec machine that doesn't break the bank. But another thing is that I believe a PC is more expensive generally to buy, but cheaper to own. Let me explain. When you purchase your PC, you generally, especially for your very first build, want to buy very decent parts. You really should be buying nice parts no matter what you do, because those parts will be able to often be used in future builds. For instance, I have a power supply that I've used for past 3 builds, I believe, and I'm probably going to be using it for a couple more. And that's just part of what makes PC building and home theater PCs as a video game console great, is that when I do an upgrade, I'm not usually having to upgrade everything. Say I find a cool new case that I want to use that will look better in my home theater than the case that I'm using right now. Well, I can just purchase the case and there's an upgrade. Say there's a video card that I'm just really wanting to get and I've been saving up my money. That upgrade, putting that just to my video card, can make a significant boost in performance to my gaming, and it really doesn't probably cost much more than getting a decent game console. But what really saves you money over time are the games. And that's what gets me into my next point. The library in the PC is now really amazing. Now, there's always been great PC games, but now the libraries are kind of getting homogenous, where we're seeing less and less of the AAA games staying on the consoles for their exclusives. More and more of those exclusives are now becoming PC day one, or sometimes just a little bit after launches. Now, of course, this doesn't include Nintendo. Nintendo, very wisely, with their very large roster of intellectual IP that's very profitable for them, they're keeping it on their systems. And it's not likely we'll see them move anytime soon. They've carved out a pretty interesting little niche with the Nintendo Switch, and it's probably going to stay that way. But for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, a lot of their exclusives are now going to PC. We saw it just recently with Halo. Halo is on Steam. That blew my mind. That's so cool. But that also shows you that your PC is becoming more and more the place where you can get all the games that you want. Sony still has a lot of good exclusives. They did a good job with that. And they're probably going to hold on to that for a little while. But I don't think that's going to last forever. And I think that this might be one of the last generations with having exclusive games on it. Indie games. We got to talk about indie games. Indie games are so cool right now. Now listen, indie games have always been cool. They've always been the mavericks that have shaped the industries in really important ways. But indie games lately, with the ease of publishing, when it comes to downloads either on a console or the ease of development between the different platforms. So now you can develop for the Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and the PC with not too much difficulty. Well, it might be, it's not, I would say not too much difficulty, but it's way easier than it used to be. Man, the indie scene is amazing, and these games are just killer. Some of these games are even more impressive than AAA games. And going back to price, games on the PC are generally cheaper than they are on other platforms. So over time, even though you've spent maybe a little bit more on the hardware, you're going to make that up in the software. And that comes to my next point. Unlike the other consoles, on a PC, there's a lot of competition for your money. A lot of competition for where you're going to buy your game. You've got Steam, Origin, Uplay, Good Old Games, Microsoft Store, Twitch. There are so many places, and I'm sure I'm missing a few. There are so many places that you can buy your games on a PC that has the effect of multiple people vying for your money. And I believe that's actually one reason why that the games in general are a little bit cheaper on the PC. But another cool side effect of that is that I'm getting free games all the time on the PC. Epic in general this year, they are drunk on their Fortnite money, and they are totally trying to get you to use the Epic Store. And to be honest, they're doing a pretty good job because the games they're giving away are really good. And they're giving a game away every single week. Origin did that for a while. They weren't doing every week, but they were doing every once in a while. They're giving away free games. So I actually looked it up. This year alone, I got 63 games on Steam that I got through various areas like Humble Bundle and places like that. I got 27 games on Epic, and I got 4 games on Good Old Games. And I know I only bought maybe 12 of those games, and most of those games I got for really cheap, under $5. And so that's close to 100 games. I got most of those for free, and some of those games were amazing. I got Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. That was on my wish list, and so was Into the Breach. That was also on my wish list. I'm a huge FTL subset gaming fan, and that got onto my list. And so if you think about that, I wouldn't have gotten that many games on a console for sure. They aren't giving away that many free games. There are some free games that are being given away, but usually you have to be already signed up for Xbox Gold, so you are spending that money. Or PlayStation's version, I don't remember what it's called. Sorry. And this brings me to another point of the library being superior on the PC, and that is all of my games have been and will be compatible across all my systems and will probably continue to be compatible from the inception that I buy them. So like I've told you before, I have XCOM that came out, I believe in the early 90s, maybe late 80s even, but that game came out so a long time ago, and it plays just fine on my PC now. It will play just fine on my PC later, and all the games I purchased and I get for free, or I purchased this next year, they're all going to work just fine, and they're getting patches and updates continually. Now, Microsoft is working really hard with their backwards compatibility. They're doing a crazy good job on that, but compatibility is still the best on the PC, and that makes it a better value in price and with your library. But I was talking about competition. Yeah, it's that competition that makes it that way. This gets me to number 10. The last and I think the most important thing about home theater PCs as your gaming console, and that is that you get to make it your own. The experience is completely customizable. You can make the most coolest, most expensive, craziest, highest frame rate 4K machine out there, or you can say, hey, I just want to play Rocket League and I just want this to be running at 60 frames per second, or I have this particular, I like playing indie games, and that's all I play is old indie games and retro games, and you can make a retro gaming and emulation PC that's pretty low spec. You can get those things for practically nothing. People throw away PCs that work fine for that, and that's what's great about using it as your home console. It gets to be what you want it to be, and that also brings it to value as well. You don't have to spend a lot. PC gaming, especially building your own home theater PCs for PC gaming, it's kind of like hot rods for nerds. It's performance hardware that you have to spend time on and to make it work the way you want it to. Or maybe you want a home theater PC and you don't want to have to build it. In fact, if you're looking for specifically home theater PCs, there's a few that I've seen out there by different companies, but Steiger Dynamics, if you're looking for a custom-built, really amazing home theater PC, their stuff is outrageous. Really cool stuff. I'll provide a link for that below if you want to take a look at their stuff. But if you want an OEM that makes a really good home theater PC, they're probably the one to go with, at least as far as I've seen. There might be some others. If you see some others, let me know, but they're the one that I can think of offhand. But yeah, there's other places like that. But if you just want to build your own, and you just have a specific design idea and how you want it to look and how you want it to play and games you want to play on it, it's all up to you. And I think that's really special. And that's really important for home theater PCs, and I think that that's why they are the best home game console for your money. Alright, and those are my top 10 reasons why a home theater PC is your best value for your home video game console. So let's say I've convinced you. You're ready to build your home theater PC, or go out and get one. First, if you want to build your own machine, I've made a Google Sheet that shows you 4 different levels of price points. The levels are budget, mid-range, high-end, and dream. Also another word on cases. I don't like RGB. I prefer my cases to be like MKBHD. I like matte black everything. I like it to be just a slab of metal that does my bidding. And so you'll notice my cases are purposefully meant to be plain, and that's because they're going to be typically somewhere in your eye line while you're watching your TV, and if you're using it for your video player and there's a bunch of RGB going off, it can be very distracting, and I personally hate that. So that's what you'll notice about on cases. I don't like spangly computer builds. All right, next I would say get creative. For instance, in the opening sequence you saw my computer. That is just a bog standard OEM HP Elite 800 G1. It's not super high end at all. And when I got it, so how I got it was, okay, all right, let me back up a little bit. This story's pretty cool. How I put the system together is there was a university surplus. I got this HP Elite Desk 800 G1 for $50. It has the i5 4570 in it. It came with 4 gigs of RAM and no hard drive. So that's fine. I just put my own stuff in there. I had a couple of SSDs that a friend of mine gave me that I rated. I had a 2 terabyte drive from a previous build. My power supply is an 800 watt Antec that I got from a previous build. It's a really nice power supply. I'm probably going to use it in a couple more builds. My RAM was from another previous build too, because this was still DDR3, because this is a Haswell. I had 16 gigs of DDR3 that I could use for it, so that was nice. And the video card. Let me tell you a quick story of video cards. This is how you can get creative. Okay, I bought an RX 580 right when it came out. I bought it on 18th of April 2017 for $234.98. And then I started hearing about this crazy Bitcoin boom that was happening. And then I found out my video card was being sold for $500 brand new. So I sold my video card on eBay for $365. So right now I'm up $130. So a couple weeks later, I saw a sale for GTX 1080 for $514, and I had a $50 coupon, and then that brought the price down to $464.98. This is on eBay. And so my final out-of-pocket for a GTX 1080 was $334. So you just got to get creative. So I have a GTX 1080 in this machine. It's awesome. I love it. The last little component that I got for this is I had a wireless Xbox 360 controller, but I didn't have any way of connecting it to my PC. So I just kind of scoured around, and on Facebook Marketplace, I found somebody was selling for $15 a black wireless Xbox 360 controller with the PC adapter. So I got that, and then I just kept looking around, and $10 here, $12 here. I got 2 more controllers, and now I had 4 controllers for Xbox 360 that work on my PC, and they work flawlessly. It's perfect. It's amazing. And they're Xbox 360 controllers. No, they're not the Xbox One, but they're awesome. They work really well. So in fact, in my build guide, you'll see a couple of options for those 360 controller adapters. So if you have some old 360 controllers or can find some real cheap, they work great for using for your console, and there's plenty of places to find them. So if you're playing at home and you add everything up, you'll see that I paid way under $500 for a pretty decent machine that can do even 4K gaming at a pretty decent clip. Oh, and one really important note. When I swapped my power supply out, the OEM power supply had a fan header that went into the motherboard that would report the fan speed of the power supply to the motherboard BIOS. And so when you swap it out, that functionality is no longer there. And so every time I boot up, I have to press F1 to go through it. It's a small thing, but you might want to have a heads up on that. If you go with an OEM, you might have little quirks like that when you do all these kind of retrofitting and upgrading. So yes, I didn't actually get some of these things for free. At some point I did have to buy them, but I never had to start over, and I never have to start over. I find that I always have a few parts that I can always bring over, and it makes my build sometimes significantly much cheaper. And you get to bring your old library always with you. And I can't think of many instances that doesn't happen. Maybe there's some outlying cases, but I can't think of any at the moment. And it's just fun to make your own computer. It really is rewarding feeling when you can put your computer together and it's something that you created. It's not something you can do with an Xbox or a PlayStation, which is fine. They have their own advantages as well. And yes, when you're trying to make a plug and play experience, it's very difficult to get there with Windows compared to just buying a console. That's actually the console's greatest advantage, is that when you buy them and when you set it up, for the most part, it's what you see is what you get, and it's easy just to get started really quickly. Again, that's part of the fun. You can actually have Windows just boot straight into big picture mode on Steam, or use some other launcher like Launchbox, or some other launchers that are out there. Playknight is one that I'm working with right now, and it's actually pretty decent if you want something just to kind of load up as soon as your computer loads up. And it takes a lot of tweaking to get it to work right, but once you do, you kind of do have a console-like experience. It's kind of fun. All right, that's all I have for you today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this useful, please subscribe. Ring the bell if you want to know when the next video is uploaded. And what am I missing? Is there more value from a home theater PC that I'm missing? Is there much more value from a PC, and from a home console, and I've got it all wrong? Let me know. Take care. I love you. Nope. Don't love you. Don't know you.